Welcome to the National Association of Realtors Code of Ethics Education Program. This series of short conversations will help you learn about the Code of Ethics, why it exists, how it applies in common situations, how it's enforced, and most importantly, what the Code expects of us. You can access this material in your office or home or from any convenient location. This program is ideally suited for self-study and can also be used effectively for office meetings. The first segments will focus on why the Realtor family embraces and enforces the Code, the Code's history, and the structure of the Code. Later segments will discuss the 17 articles which establish the basic duties and obligations of every Realtor. The companion standards of practice, which interpret and explain the specific duties imposed by the articles, and also the case interpretations that illustrate, or put another way, bring to life the articles and the standards of practice. Our final segment will focus on the Realtor organization's dispute resolution tools, mediation, and arbitration. Each segment lasts about 5 or 6 minutes. Key points will be highlighted or presented as talking points at the conclusion of the segment. If you choose to use these materials for in-office training, the talking points can help you facilitate discussion among your colleagues. Now let's take a trip back in time to 1908. One of the primary reasons the National Association of Realtors, originally the National Association of Real Estate Exchanges, was founded back in 1908 was to establish ethical standards to guide real estate professionals and to measure their conduct. A century ago, there were no license laws or regulations. Buyers and sellers were left to fend for themselves. It was a time of rampant land speculation, consumer exploitation, and disorder. Real estate practitioners, if they were regulated at all, carried peddler's licenses. The rule of the day was, let the buyer beware and let the public be damned. Out of the chaos emerged a group of committed real estate professionals who believed the practice of real estate could and must be organized and regulated, and that high standards needed to be established and enforced. Those visionaries, and it is only fair to call them visionaries, spent several years determining the key principles that were necessary to protect buyers and sellers. The efforts of these pioneers resulted in the first Code of Ethics, which was adopted in 1913. While the Code has been amended many times over the ensuing decades to ensure it remains meaningful and relevant as laws, customs, practices, and even technology changes, many of the fundamental principles spelled out in that first Code remain essentially unchanged. If you like, you can even download that first Code from the support materials section of this program and compare it to today's Code. The Code of Ethics has been referred to by some as the golden thread that binds the Realtor family together, and as the Realtor's pathway to professionalism. But perhaps the best description is that the Code, as former Executive Vice President Bill North so eloquently put it, is our gift of vision. The Code represents a vision, the vision that the business of real estate would become a profession, the vision that the search for the highest and best use of the land requires the highest and best measures of professional responsibility, and the vision that private ownership of land is indispensable to a viable democracy and to a free and prosperous society. The Realtors who created the first Code, and the many Realtors who have nurtured, enhanced, and enforced the Code for close to a century, realized the Code had to be much more than just a simple set of rules. The founders determined, and generations of Realtors since then have solemnly agreed, that the Code must be the criterion of excellence, as well as a realistic standard of performance. The Code was, and continues to be, a practical guide for measuring professional conduct, while at the same time it also represents the furthest reach of our professional aspirations. For those reasons, the Code is and must remain a living document that undergoes continuous review and scrutiny to ensure it reflects current reality in the ever-changing real estate marketplace. The Code, which manifests the considered consensus of Realtors nationwide about the duties and obligations that are owed to buyers, sellers, landlords, tenants, the general public, and to other Realtors, is truly our gift of vision. In the next segment, We will begin to examine the code by reviewing the preamble and its high aspirational standards that represent the highest level of Realtor's professionalism. Our journey along the pathway to professionalism is just beginning.